Cafe Networking podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Rioch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. And today we talk with Danielle Bernock, that lady on the internet who loves you. She's joining us from Utica, Michigan, in the United States. Danielle is an international award-winning author, speaker, podcast host, and trauma-informed self-love coach who helps men, women, and organizations emerge with clear vision of their value. So Danielle, what does it mean to love yourself?
I was asked this on another podcast, kind of on the spot, and we talked about what does it mean to love? And I've been thinking about that a lot since, because it's like, does it mean you just accept people how they are and let them be, whatever they want to be? It's like, no, because sometimes we need to change, right? So to love is to ascribe value, to give value. So to love yourself is to see and acknowledge the value you have in yourself, in your personhood. And yourself is your mind, your will, your emotions, your spirit, your body, the whole part of who you are. It's to see and give value to that. And when you give value to something, you take care of it.
So it's not an ego trip.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, we should obviously love ourselves, but we should also show that.
Right. And that's actually the word or the term self-compassion. Self-love and self-compassion are two different things. Self-love is your view, how you look at yourself, how you see yourself. You see that value, you see that potential, you see that you have the right to be here, you have a way to be here, and then you nurture that. That self-compassion is how you treat yourself. One is the view and the other is the action. It's like one is a noun and one is a verb.
Well, I think I feel what you're saying, because obviously there are 8 billion people in this world. And I've always thought that all of them are unique. And I bring that to myself. I think I'm unique. I think we're all unique. And sometimes what you mentioned about the vision and the value, I can see value and vision in myself that many other people don't realize or don't see.
Well, we need to love others also, but it starts with loving ourselves. I didn't love myself, and that's how I came to be this lady on the internet who loves you, because I didn't love myself, because I have a background of trauma, a big pile of childhood trauma that I had to acknowledge, to work through, learn to love myself, accept the love of God for me, because it was that love that healed me. In my book, Emerging with Wings, and the subtitle it says, The Love That Heals, and that's referring to knowing the true love of God, not the religiousized kind, the true love of God that loves and accepts us, but nurtures us to grow. Because people need to change. Like, I was wounded, I was hurt, and hurt people.
Right.
And many of the people in the prison system are there because they are traumatized, and so they have acted out of that. There are people who are speaking to that and going into the prisons to do that, to help these people heal from these horrendous things that have happened to them. And see, it goes to the love of self. You have to see the value. Many people, they don't see their value. And that's why I'm a trauma-informed self-love coach. I'm also faith-based, so that people will have faith in themselves, faith in that love that God has for them, and they can grow and change and tap into the potential of something I called your God-given greatness. I believe there's greatness in everyone, but not everyone taps into it. And it starts with having to see that value in themselves. I have the right to be here.
Right.
That's from a really old poem from years ago, Desiderata. You have the right to be here.
Yeah, since we are here, and I agree with you, we're here.
But sometimes we don't feel like we have that
and
right.
we always ask ourselves, why are we here? And
we have to see that
path?
we have that right, because I didn't feel like I had the right to draw breath. That's what trauma does. It strips your sense of value from you, that the suicide rate in the world is astronomical.
Right.
And people don't see their value. The depression, it depresses the value. And there's many reasons. I won't get into the whole suicide thing, but it really has to go
but
to
that's
we
one
have to
of
see our
it.
value.
You mentioned trauma, and
Right.
it's not a single thing. It's not something that just happens with one or two.
No.
We're talking about that, and trauma, depression related to trauma, and we're
Right.
talking about a world that unfortunately that it all seems to be increasing.
Right.
And again, gets to the point that we continually ask, I ask, why is this all happening? You look at it on a broader scale, but then when you bring it back home to why is this happening to me? If you've gone through trauma, or if you've gone through a negative experience, it's really, I don't want to say easy. Sometimes it's easier just to go down the wrong path and think you're worthless. You convince yourself that you are. And I think back to your point of reflecting on your interior of why we're here. I think there is a God-given reason. I'm here for a reason. We may never know, but we have to believe that we are.
Right. And then give ourselves to that purpose. That's what, when you talked about, what I do, I chart a path to people's promise. They have things inside of them that they need to, like you said, self-reflect, to identify and then give themselves to that. But they have to see their value for them to give themselves to something. So that is very central to what I do, is you have to see your value.
Yeah, but I also mentioned you that the men, women, but also organizations, and what we see more often today, organizations, companies, corporations are, I don't want to say they're seeing the light, but they're seeing the reflect. When we talk about mental illness, we're talking about these trauma-oriented things.
Oh, yes.
So the intern, we talk wellness, which is sort of a key word that brings in a whole lot of meaning. But corporations are opening up to the fact that they have a problem.
Yeah.
And for many years, it's just been put under the rug.
Right, because they treat their employees like they're a cog in the machine, and people start to feel that. And when you're just a cog in a machine, you don't give yourself to your work, and that's why these people have been quietly quitting. I mean, people have been doing it for a long time. I read recently how Generation X said, we've been doing this for years, but they called it slacking.
But that wake-up call, and so what you do as a self-love coach, so it's to the individual, but again, to the organization. You can't go into an organization and help an organization look at itself and learn to love itself.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to see all the parts. It's like your body. Your body has cells. You have to love your whole body, but your body is made up of cells and then organs and tissues, all the different parts of it. You have to recognize that. That's why exercise and water and what you eat, if we get obsessed with it, we get over looking at, like a magnifying glass too much. Right. We need to have both a specific and a general. We need to be able to look closely and also step back. You have to have both views.
Very good. I want to thank you for sharing all these views. And how can our listeners find you?
Oh, at my website. You can access everywhere I'm found from my website. I made it very central on purpose because I am all over the internet. But my website is Danielle Bernock. It's Bernock. Many people would spell it B-U-R, but it's Bernock. DanielleBernock.com. You can get me everywhere from there.
Well, thanks again for being here.
Well, thank you. This was a pleasure.
And for our audience, again, more information about Danielle Bernock, it's Danielle Bernock. That's DanielleBernock.com. Also find her on LinkedIn. And on her site, you'll find her 4-step process called SELF, S-E-L-F, because all our choices follow from our self. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at www.focusmi.com. Thanks for listening until the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.